Hello, one and all, and welcome to another video on the Bang Show YouTube channel. Daffy and I just laughing a little bit off air. We pressed the record button, and Daffy was mid-sentence, so I accidentally cut him off. So it was pretty funny, but that's just why we just had a bit of the giggles to start this video. But once again, we're back on for another video, and it's another very I'll say intriguing sort of video about Ryan Burton potentially joining the Carlton Football Club. He's been in talks with his management has been in talks with the club today, and it really is the only club at the moment who is interested in Ryan Burton. So if anything, if he was to get a lifeline at the end of this year through the trade period and we pick him up and 2026 he becomes a Carlton player, I definitely don't think it's a bad choice at all, Daffy Boy. So I'll throw straight to you. How are you the past few days since we haven't done a video? But your first thoughts on this guy, because I know how much you actually like him as a player.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I didn't really realise he was delisted, to be honest. I just think he's probably a player that should be playing AFL level. He's a good age, and it was interesting to hear his thoughts on like just his career, and like he wasn't surprised by the delisting, and he was talking about how his managers approached many clubs, and he's spoken personally to former assistant coaches of his. But he did say that he hadn't contacted Michael Voss directly, but his manager has spoken to Carlton, and I think it was, it's a good talking point. There's no guarantee he's going to be at Carlton, and he could be somewhere else for all we know. The trade period changes, every couple of hours, as we know right now with the whole Clary Oliver stuff in the last probably half an hour or so. It's pretty massive stuff, but yeah. When I first saw it this morning, once again, not a guarantee to get him, but I would be all for it. I would be all for it, Pato, and I know you would too. And I just think there's more positives than negatives in bringing a guy like this in. He's played, over 160 games, 28 years old. He's played in a really, really good Port Adelaide team too, might I add. I think they've made 3 out of the last 5 prelim finals. I know they didn't make the grand final, but they were a pretty consistent team over the last, 5-6 years, I would say, and he was a part of that. And I said to you off air that, if someone came up to me and said, say one word to describe Ryan Burton, and I'd say kicking. And I think he's a beautiful kick, and Kane Corns did say it on SEN during the interview to him that he said he would be a perfect fit at Carlton just in terms of how bad our kicking is. So, what are your thoughts, Pato? Because I think it's a perfect acquisition. Once again, we've touched on this, and both of us have touched on this in the previous videos. We are focusing on needs.
Yeah.
Needs. Of course, we want the big guns, and, we talk about Butters, and I'm sure we'll talk about it at the end of the video and all those types of players. But you got to tick those needs first. Because if you don't tick those needs, you head into next year, and we'll be heading into round 3 or 4, Pato, and talking about we've got no one to cover this injury, or we've got no one to cover this guy form. We have to play this guy. So a guy like that would just, he can play half back. He can probably play. You can see him on a wing sometimes because he's a very good kick. So really good experienced head for me.
And I think this is another player that if we potentially don't get Ollie Florent, this can be a guy that would be fantastic because I think he's in the same sort of position. I know he's a little bit taller, and I was reading a bit of information about some people expect it to be of a replacement of Jackson Varney. I know he's quite a little bit small. I think he's only 191 meters in height. So like that, to me, I think probably means that he probably would play as that medium-sized forward. He wouldn't be the Jackson Varney type. But what I've really noticed about him, like he has a beautiful kick is what you've said, but he can also defend quite well.
Yes.
And I think he isn't overly quick. So when he's on the small forwards, he probably gets a little bit found out. But when you see him against the medium-sized forwards, if you go back to like even 2020 when Port Adelaide were very good and probably should have made that grand final against Richmond in that prelim final, he was one of their best defenders. And I can remember it so well, how well and how like well recognized he was in that season. and everyone was underrating him. And then I think 2021, 2022, he started to find that recognition again. But we were also mentioning as well, he was a part of the Hawthorn side where I know he was kind of unfair. I know he was unfairly treated and he was traded away for Chad Wingard, and that was the whole situation. But he was still a part of that side. And I feel like when I think it was 2015, 2016, when he was around that side, and then Wingard the club in 2017, I believe. When he was kind of at that peak of the powers of Hawthorn, he was still playing some senior games. I know that for a fact because I mean, like, he was lining up against like Walkers and stuff in the 2016 season. So it's pretty crazy to see that he was delisted. He was 28. And I know that we were speaking about how Port Adelaide are probably in a different sort of mindset of they want a bit of young talent transitioning through. And that means that probably Kane Farrell will probably be stepping up to being the main guy in that back line, the main ball user. And there probably isn't a lot of sort of openings for Ryan Burton. And it probably is a smart decision because you know that he probably would be utilised better at other clubs than what he would be utilised at Port Adelaide. And that's why I would say it again, I just find it crazy that there isn't more conversations with more clubs. And that's why I'm saying let's get him while we have him in conversation, like in the conversation, and we're the only club that really wants him, get him in as soon as possible because he is a fantastic get, in my opinion. But I'll transition back to what I was saying about the position. Like heading into next year, if he was to join the club, what type of position what's the position you would want him in for 2026?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, I'd say his best is half back. And the positive with him is, like you said, he's a little bit taller, so he can play on taller opponents. Not the big boys, but obviously Weeders and whoever, Lewis Youngs and whoever can take those big fellas. But he can play that third or fourth. So I know there's a lingering decision with Mitch McGovern, who hasn't got a contract yet, and by now you would probably think that he would have got a contract by now.
Yes.
That's just my thinking. But, sometimes we see weird stuff happen and he ends up getting a contract, but it just seems like it's trending towards that direction, Pato, with Mitch McGovern. So I'd say a guy like Burton would be nice to get in. He's cheaper and clearly, like, he's experienced. Like, and in the perfect position, I'd say would be in defence for me, Pato. And, it keeps guys like, it might be Matt Carrolls, it might keep Cowan, guys like that, not under pressure, but have to perform to keep their spot because they've got a guy there. And also, he's huge. He'd be huge for younger players in terms of their development and their training and the standards and all those types of things. Like, I don't know Ryan personally, but clearly when you play over 150 games for a pretty handy team, you're probably going to go all right. And the way he kind of spoke today in that, I did listen to the entire interview, and he seems pretty adamant that he wants to keep playing. He's interested in coaching, which is another big thing for me. He doesn't want to obviously doesn't want to coach yet. He says he's a bit young now, but he says if he doesn't get an opportunity, he might have to head into the coaching space. So that clearly shows his leadership side, Pato.
Yeah, I love it. I seriously, I am like, I'm still at the point where it's like, I just can't believe this is even a conversation. Because I would have thought, if anything, they probably would have done what we're doing with Mitch McGovern, where potentially try and get a trade out of Ryan Burton. And if we can find a way to get a trade out of Mitch McGovern, great. But at the end of the day, if we have to delist him, like, that's just what we have to do. But I'm just surprised that they delisted him so early, and he was a part of the first delistings of Port Adelaide. It's actually crazy. When it first came out, and I don't remember when it first came out, but maybe we did have a conversation straight away about him. I'm not too sure if that's exactly right. But I know as soon as this news came out, I was like, great, get him in. And so I'll transition back to what you said earlier about what this could mean for Mitch McGovern. I know that you were saying, like, how it's quite unusual that he hasn't found a contract now, but are you talking about now in like, I mean, it's the start of October and he still hasn't got a contract, or are you talking about now that we're in talks with Ryan Burton? Is that probably why you're a little bit surprised that Mitch McGovern hasn't found, or like, is that probably why Mitch McGovern should now start to worry? Because we're now in talks with a guy that probably would replace McGovern straight away. Is that what you're talking about in terms of you like if you were Mitch McGovern, you would start to worry because in this point in time, we're now talking to a guy that probably could replace him.
Yeah, and even just in terms of the time of the year, like we don't have many free agents left for this year. Re-signed Jesse Motlop, we re-signed, Nick Haynes, all those types of players have got, have re-signed. I know there's a couple more that we touched on the last episode with Will White and what's his name?
Harry Charlton.
Yeah, Harry Charlton and the other mid-season. Flynn Young.
Flynn Young, yes.
Yeah, so obviously they're uncontracted. I'd imagine they stay because obviously Charlton's a rookie and the other two are mid-season, so they'll probably just see how trade period goes. But yeah, I'd say he's in a bit of limbo at the moment, Mitch McGovern. And you look at what Melbourne are doing. I'm not saying we're in the same spot as them, but sometimes you got to make these calls that you might not necessarily want to make. And people might go, "Oh, why are we delisting him?" But then when we keep him, people go, "Why are we keeping him?" I think he's one of those players. Like, I think, we've got to move on. And I think personally we've got to move him on. I think he's good enough. Absolutely good enough. But, not because of Burton, nothing to do with Burton, but I just think we need to move on. And obviously looking at, Karmas is coming in, he's playing in defence. So there's a few names in there who are coming in. Not saying Karmas is, he could be. I think his his potential could be better than McGovern's, in my opinion, at the age he is. So in terms of McGovern, I do love Gov, but, we're not winning games, Pato. So we've got to make brutal calls.
See, I'm a little bit different where as soon as this news came out, I'm like, McGovern probably doesn't have a spot next year.
Yeah.
If the news about Burton didn't come out, I probably would have been on the side of maybe there is a spot for McGovern, because I know that we've been speaking about it. Like, I've been a huge advocate of keeping McGovern on the list, but now with us having interest in Ryan Burton and McGovern's 31, I would so much rather Burton, who's been there, who's done that, who's been in the he's been in the back line. Had to clear my throat there, definitely, but. He's been in the back line his whole career, hasn't been really shifted around. He knows exactly what position he is best at, and he knows exactly what position he would be in at Carlton, because I still think there could be an opening for Ryan Burton in the best 22. So
yes.
So I just feel like McGovern, my mindset has changed. I was happy last night that McGovern would have been at the club next year. But now with this news this morning, I'm now thinking, there isn't a spot for McGovern, which is crazy to me. But so kind of, we want to try and keep this on Ryan Burton, but I've just got a question for you. Do you, if you were Carlton right now, would you try and seek a trade for McGovern, or would you just delist him and just say, thanks for your services, but we don't want you at the club anymore, and then you can sort out whatever else you want to do with your career?
Really depends on the interest. I guess they'll wait until the end of the trade.
There's nothing though, is there? There's no interest.
Yes. So they'll wait till there's been here and there, like North and Dogs and Gold Coast. And, I'm sure he'll end up somewhere. I think we've both said Essendon. I can see him in a jumper already, to be honest. But I think they wait till the end of the trade period, and then they might just delist him, and then he ends up signing as a delisted free agent, and then he can choose where he goes. Yes, that might be the direction it heads, Pato. I'm not saying that's a guarantee or anything, but I'd imagine it's trending towards that area. And like you said, I think when a name like Burton pops up, or if there's any other names that pop up in the next few weeks, I think we should grab him with both hands and bring him to the club, because I just think, I think we need more leaders at this club.
Yes.
That isn't, it's just more underratedly. I mean, we've got a lot of guys who have high standards, but I think a guy like this who's been there, done that, consistently played finals, had to do it the hard way sometimes, getting a game, there's no guarantees. And you look at Nick Haynes, Pato, he wasn't getting a game for the Giants for 2 years before he came to us. He's playing VFL. Nick Haynes playing VFL footy. And he was he'd probably be top 5 out of BNF this year. I know we didn't have a great year, but I thought he had a fantastic season. I thought he had absolutely, considering how much we're paying for him and what we initially probably thought he'd bring, like we all thought he'd be handy. but we didn't think he'd probably be almost our best defender this season. So yeah, you look at Burton, no risk, cheap as chips, and he'll be dying for an opportunity to be at a club, a big club, and also a club that I'd say would want to be playing finals next season.
Yeah. I compare these two situations with Burton and Haynes. It's very similar, isn't it? Because I think Port Adelaide have a lot of those Burton options, and GWS had a lot of those Haynes options, where just a lot of key stops.
Yeah, it's just unlucky.
Yeah, and that's why I said earlier with it's probably a smart move from Port Adelaide to just delist him, and probably a nice move in terms of probably care. I mean, not like Port Adelaide.
I think he might have been unrestricted because he did sign a 7-year deal, so maybe they couldn't get a trade for him. Maybe that might have been the case. If he was completely unrestricted, then it was out of their hands, I guess.
Yeah, I was more saying like to do it then because you can always hold on to him. And wait, because I mean, I probably would make a trade for Burton. Like that's a type of player he probably is. But I've lost my train of thought with what I was saying earlier. But I've just got a quick quote as well for what he kind of has said leading into this trade period and kind of where he sees himself heading into 2026. But he said, I was obviously really disappointed when I got the news a couple of months ago when I wasn't getting the contract. Straight away, my manager said he's confident he should be able to find me somewhere. I'm only 28 and I feel like I'm in my prime. I've got 3 or 4 years left at AFL level at least. So that's 3 to 4 years of prime time Ryan Burton footy. And as you've said, that sounds a little bit unusual when I say it out loud. But when you when you think about it, it is somewhat appealing for Ryan Burton to come to a big Melbourne club. And as you've said, hopefully Carlton are pushing towards finals, and he would be a instrumental part of that backline. And I don't know why. I just feel like he probably would get in this best 22 right here, right now. I just love the way that he plays, and I feel like that is exactly the type of player we need. And whether it's on the wing, whether it's in halfback, he's a beautiful kick of the footy. Yep. If you need a swingman who can go forward, chuck him forward. He can take a mark. He can go back and kick a goal. So I think he's a perfect utility type. And I know that we're getting a lot of these utilities, but it's a perfect. I love the way that Carlton and Nick Osman is going about it because they're getting players that we need. We don't need the big fishes. Yep. Potentially, we might end up getting a big fish. Who knows? But right now, we are just going after guys who we need to improve everything in the inner sanctum of the club, and then whatever we have left with all of the needs that we have, that's when maybe we can go after a big fish. But Daff, before we move on to, I mean, probably our last sort of point on Ryan Burton, I guess the question is, heading into next year, so if he is at the club, I know that we've spoken about more, I know that we've spoken about him and his position and where we could kind of find him, but do you think there is any other chance that he would be at another club, or do you think it really is a win-win situation, in my opinion, if we get Ryan Burton into the club? But kind of last thoughts on Ryan Burton. What's your kind of final thoughts on him potentially entering the club and how important it would be for our mindset heading into next year to have a guy like this?
Yeah, it's well, he did speak about, he hasn't just spoken to us. Obviously, he's just trying to find an opportunity somewhere, and he hasn't got an opportunity yet from Carlton. We're here talking about it. They're in talks, but there's no guarantees for him. But yeah, I know I see him at another club. Whether he did say that he might be a train-on player or something like that, or he might just go in the sample for a year. He said so. He'd be a very, very quality player in the sample, Pato. But I think it's like you said, it's a win-win. Costs cheap. He's got everything that ticks the boxes and doesn't have to be in the 22. He can be. I think he can be, but we've got a lot of talent in that defense, so he won't be guaranteed a game. So that's a positive as well, in my opinion. So I'd be all over this, absolutely all over this, Pato, and we'll see what happens. It could be nothing, and we're here talking about Ryan Burton, and he'll be playing Sample next year, or he'll be Carlton in the next couple of weeks. Who knows?
Yeah, spot on. I'm just having a look at his full name as well, Duffy boy. How's this for a name? Ryan Donald Burton. Donald. Oh,
Trump.
I think that's a great name. Ryan Donald Burton. It is a bit of a tongue twister.
I'm going to call him Donny from now on.
Donny. But before now, I know I've just said the last thing on Ryan Burton because it obviously is the last thing on Ryan Burton. But we're now transitioning into a bit of a different part of the video here, Daffy Boy. And it's something that you and I are very excited to speak about. So the question is, Port Adelaide, they're now, you just know that my shoulders have kind of risen a little bit here, Daffy Boy, because I love speaking about this. Port Adelaide is in a bit of a different sort of mindset at the moment. They've been open saying that we want young kids in, we want draft picks, we want guys to, in 5 years' time, that's when we can really catapult ourselves back into premiership contention. So there is a certain pre-agent who is on the cards, and we don't know if we are interested 100% in them. There's a certain guy, I don't know, I think his name is Zack Butters, by memory, Daffy Boy from the Port Adelaide Football Club. He's one of the best midfielders in the competition. Obviously, I'm kidding. I know his name very well. He is probably the best player in their competition, in my opinion. I know that might be a little bit controversial, but I don't care. He's a superstar of the competition. Now, with Port Adelaide having a bit of a different mindset and probably realising that they won't be in premiership or even finals contention next year, Zack Butters is out of contract next year as well. Probably looks out. Looks like he will be on the outer. What does this mean for Carlton and Zack Butters? Like, overall, your mindset at the moment, I know it's still a very, very small chance and there's really nothing really starting this conversation yet with Zack Butters. But now with this coming out and the Port Adelaide being very clear about what their intentions are in 2026, you can only really think about what this could potentially mean for Zack Butters and Carlton or any other clubs as well. Yeah,
it's a good question. Port Adelaide are kind of in that, do you commit to playing finals next year and just keep Butters and keep other players on the list that can win you games, or do you go for that, not rebuild, but a bit of a reset under the new coach? So obviously, in my opinion, I think Josh Carr would rather him stay, but there might be a time where they have conversations and they go, well, we're not confident he's going to stay at next year, so why delay it? And I look at Melbourne, they've delayed the whole Petrarca Oliver situation. They would be a year ahead right now if they already did that, right? So if they did that last off-season. So obviously we're going to speak about it and people will go, oh, you got your blue, coloured glasses on, Daff and Pato. No shit, because we're a Carlton channel. So, but, I look at it as does Josh Carr, this is more of a question, just like a rhetorical question, but does Josh Carr want to hold a year and not get the picks in this year when there's a bunch of clubs lining up for him? Or does he want to delay it and then end up getting the same thing? So I think if I was in his boots, I'd probably take, not just because I want him coming to Carlton, but if I was in Josh Carr's boots and if this was Carlton's situation, you'd almost go, okay, let's just move him on. Get the best deal we can from whatever club. But yeah, in terms of Butters, he's a name that's been talked about a lot, not really in the, there's been, Sam McClure has kind of hinted at it a little bit. Yeah. Not really saying that it has been any talks or anything in terms of him, but he just says there's a lot of connections. Like obviously he's very tight with Chris Davies, the new footy boss. Carlton's trying to get Travis Boak in for a role at the club.
Yep.
And we're almost trying to get the whole Port Adelaide Football Club. It'll be the Port Adelaide Blues next season, I'm hearing. But like in terms of Butters, you'd be silly not to ask the question. We've got Curnow going out the door. We've got a compo pick coming through. Once that compo pick comes through, I'd be phoning his manager and going, what would he think about playing for Carlton next year? Just to get those conversations started, because obviously you want the player to be committed first. And then if he thinks about it and goes, yeah, then you get the picks from Charlie for a Charlie trade. whatever compo picks. Obviously, we're still got to get the stuff done for next year as well. I think we can do both, in my opinion. I think if Charlie, TDK, and Sosco, that's almost over $2 and a bit million of salary. So 100%. I don't think that's going to be an issue. And as I said, Port Adelaide, I think will want to just get a deal done if that's the case. If he requests a trade, I don't think if he doesn't push out, they'll keep. But I think if he hints at it going, I wouldn't mind heading out, like a bit of a Petrarca situation, then, why wouldn't want to play for Carlton, Pato? But in my opinion, go fucking hard for him. Go hard for him, because I think you spoke about Burton and guys like this, that kind of a new energy. If you get Zack Butters through the door, this will be my last point on Zack Butters. If he is there day one of training at Carlton, the energy of the group will lift 10 feet. They will grow tall. I can guarantee you. And people might, if we end up getting Butters and we don't make finals next year, people can clip that. But imagine Paddy Cripps, Pato. Imagine Sam Walsh. Why wouldn't Butters want to play with Sam Walsh? Why wouldn't Walsh, the same draft class? They would have played Vic, was he country or metro Walsh? Might have been country. Yeah, so they would have played against each other. But still, they would know each other very well in terms of, those players who go through the process together in the same draft year. So both ultimate professionals. Cripps is an ultimate professional. Just think about it, Pato. Just think about this. This is my last question for you. Just visualize this in your head. People listening, visualize this in your head.
Mate, I've been visualizing this since day dot.
Paddy Cripps. So this is the midfield. This is the midfield, right? Paddy Cripps, Sam Walsh, Zack Butters. Just think about that, people at home. Just close your eyes and just visualize that round one. I would say losing Charlie and gaining Butters, is that a win? Oh, my
God.
I'd say that's a win. I would be more confident heading into round one next year if Butters was playing for Carlton than Charlie playing for Carlton. Am I wrong there?
Not even a question. I love exactly what you said, but as soon as this conversation about Zack Butters potentially leaving to Victoria at the end of this year, I straight away said, can we throw something at this guy?
Mm-hmm.
Is there another player in your mind? And seriously, if you had the opportunity to get any player you want in the competition, is there another player that you would pick over Zack Butters? With our needs.
Yeah, and a bit of realism, I reckon, too. Probably not.
There probably isn't.
We probably need that explosive goal-kicking forward. Like, we don't have it. And I think Jagger Smith will be that, in my opinion.
Oh my
so we are talking about Butters here, I know, but if we don't end up getting him, people are forgetting about Jagger Smith. Yeah. He is that is his comparison in his draft year to Butters. So I'd love to have both of them, of course. But yeah, it's going to be intriguing. Like I said, we both said, nothing's been said really. There's been people hinting at maybe we should go after him rather than actual, I'll wait till Cal Toomey or Tom Morris say something about that. But ask the question. You said it. Throw everything at him. That's all. That's what I would expect of Carlton right now. We've lost a couple key pillars, I'd say, in this team with TDK and Silvani. Silvani's a B grader, but they're still key pillars, and they were still offered a fair bit of cash. 1.1 for TDK, 700 for Silvani, and Charlie's on 800, 900, I believe. So perfect age, perfect player. Get him in, and also get Ryan Burton in.
Yeah, I was literally looking I wanted to know exactly what his age was. So he's just turned 25.
Yeah.
25.
Yeah, same age. Yeah.
It is
it
is actually crazy. And I feel like, unfortunately, it is too much of a fantasy. I just don't see us getting Butters in. But my good golly, Daffy boy. And I know we've got our Carlton glasses on. That's why I was pissing my pants earlier when you said, well, obviously, you wear a Carlton channel.
Of course. we're not gonna. It's like we're not speaking on behalf of Port Adelaide fans. We're speaking on behalf of our fans. That's just what it is. That's what our channel is. So, and just quickly, I've just read something. Nothing major. Not breaking news as such. But Toomey says Charlie Curnow's options appear down to either staying or moving to the Swans. So the Swans have pick 9, and they've Swans have put pick 9 and their future first on the table as a starting point in the conversation. So I think Charlie will be gone. I know this is not a Charlie video, but I just thought that'd be good to update.
Yeah, spot on. But I would just say this last thing. I know that we are a Carlton channel, but this is my pure opinion.
Yep.
Us losing Stoss, us losing TDK, us potentially losing Charlie Curnow, and with what we are bringing in with our needs, and on top of all of that, if we can find a way to get Zack Butters into the club, we are top 4 contenders next year, no doubt in my mind. And I also love it how we are going under the radar. And of course, if Zack Butters comes into the club, our expectations will go.
The radar will be broken. Yes,
and then everyone else would expect us to be very good next year as well. But I will say 100% he is the one player I would be picking, even unrealistic ones. I am picking this guy. I am not taking a single player over Zack Butters because we have the back line, we have the forward line, we have the other mids, we have the like the big balls, we have the gut runners like Sam Walsh. We don't have that classy like CUNT mid.
Yeah.
And that is Zack Butters. So I'm telling you, as soon as the news came out about Zack Butters looking for a trade, potentially seeking a trade at the end of this year to Victoria, and everyone was speaking about Hawthorn, Western Bulldogs, St Kilda, Collingwood. Why aren't Carlton in that conversation? Can we throw something at him? So now, hopefully, with the connections that we have, the potential assets that we will be getting for Curnow, just throw something at, but just ask, as you said, ask the question, see what he says. Because if Ryan Burton enters the club, he has another reason. Michael Voss is the coach of the club.
Yes, midfield coach. He was Zack Butters' midfield coach.
Exactly. So he has
it's all
linking together, and I know that it might be unrealistic, and we might be at the end of the trade period, and he's saying a Port Adelaide might sign a 5-year deal.
Yeah,
but just ask the question. It doesn't hurt asking the question, does it, Daffy boy?
No.
So,
I'm confident they will. I think, by what Sam McClure said about Chris Davies' first few weeks, he's turned a few heads.
Yes.
So I think he's, I think he might have been telling people we're doing some stuff wrong, I'd say we need to change different processing that we don't even know about. There'd be a lot of stuff that 90% of the stuff that what we don't see is probably more important. Like the stuff we get, like training programs or fucking how we do things, how we set up things. That's why he's in charge of the football department now. That is his job, and he clearly is laying down the law at the moment, Pato, and hopefully it's moves in a direction where we have a consistent fucking football team. That's what I'm after, first and foremost. So we want a premiership, but you can't be a premiership team without consistency.
Exactly. Like, one more question. I'll ask it again. If it was like, if we had the opportunity to get a premiership in the next 10 years, but only one, but then we are not to win another premiership for 50 years, or if we were to potentially be a consistent team and maybe, if your mind is we are going to be a consistent team or we're going to win one premiership in the next 50 years, which one are you taking?
Consistent.
Yeah. And you don't know if you're going to win the flag, but you're going to be finals every year.
You're challenging. Yeah. No, I'd rather be that.
Exactly.
People think, I understand when people go, I want to win a premiership because I might not ever see one. And, I understand that argument, but no, we can't go through that again. I don't think. It's been 30 years. We've only been a part of 23 years of it. So only, but I'd rather be a consistent team. And I've said this all the time on our episodes. I'm just here. I want to head into a season where I'm rocking up to games and we're winning games not easily. Well, with a bit of ease. With a bit of fucking ease, really. Like you're rocking up and you're going, okay, I know we're going to challenge this top team this week.
Yeah, no problems.
You know what I mean? You're not going to win every week, but, we're rocking up round one Richmond. We'll be shitting ourselves next year because of just what happened last year. That's just the facts. Doesn't matter if we bring Butters in. We'll be excited, but you'll still be thinking in the back of your head going, fuck, what happens if we lose this? So you want to eliminate that from, in my opinion, the fans' minds. I want to rock up and not hear moaning. I want to hear us concede 2 goals and go, well, no, we'll be right. You know what I mean? So and that's what picking up those players are, those needs, those consistent performers. And people go, why are we getting Karmas? Well, they wouldn't just pick him up for no reason. So we back Nick Austin, we back Graham Wright, we back Chris Davies and whoever else is making the decisions at Carlton because we have to. And if the decisions go badly by round 12, we'll be there to criticize them. That's just what it is.
Yeah, spot on, Daffy Boy. Is there anything else you would like to touch on the Burton situation? But even if you want to mention about Zack Butters as well, last words on this video.
No, I think we've covered it pretty well. And just in terms of the whole, the minor kind of story this morning with Burton, it's no lock, but I think we're both pretty pleased to get him through the door just as a cheap acquisition. He's not going to be a world beater. I hope he is, but it's good to cover this. And in the comments below, I'd like to know what people think, both of the Burton situation and would you want us to throw everything at Butters? I really want to see what people think because we love your opinions on these videos. we always talk about them off air and kind of sometimes changes my point of view sometimes too. Yeah.
I know I've said last thing. I've got one more question. Quick fire question. Trade for Butters. What are you offering?
2 first rounders this year and a future first.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
3 picks and go, take it or leave it. And if you don't want him, well, we've got Jagger Smith and you're going to be shit next year.
Yep. And Port Adelaide would be getting more this year than what they would be getting next year. So
I think so because he'll be restricted. So I guess they'll still get good deals.
It won't be as much.
Yeah, it'll be, true. Because he'll be out of contract. Like he's foot out the door, really. Yeah. No, you're probably spot on. So that'd be stupid not to think about it.
Yeah.
I'll even offer at first, even just go 2 first round to see what they do. Just see what they do. If they say more, then we'll give them more maybe. But yeah, it's exciting times.
Yeah, well, like if Charlie's offering potentially 2 first rounders, but that conversation, I think
that'll be more.
Well.
That'll be 3, I reckon.
Yeah. The Kerno situation?
Yeah, I think it'll end up being 3.
Wow.
I think 9 future first, and they'll find a Rowbottom looks like he might be off to Gold Coast. Do they get a first? Not saying they get a first rounder for him. They might send a second and Rowbottom to Gold Coast for a first. That's kind of where I'm kind of getting at in that situation. So yeah, there's definitely it's definitely a lot to play out, and we'll definitely be covering it.
Yeah, spot on. I still feel like it will well and truly be a 3-club trade if these guys were to find a new club. But to every single blue bagger out there, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on this YouTube channel. We are trying to upload as much content as possible. And any updates we see that we think are of somewhat of substance to upload a video, we will make sure that we try and do that if we have the time. But also make sure to get around our socials. We were well and truly active on that. So make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, because that is where we post our social media content. But to you, Daffy Boy, and to every single blue bagger out there.
The baggers.